Hey everybody! So I want to introduce my friend Samantha, who is an author. She is a host of an online community, and we're going to talk about that towards the end. It's really an amazing place to get support from other moms who are going through a lot of things. And she has just the most incredible story of getting through a very serious issue, a very serious illness that happened to one of her daughters. And it's just such a crazy story of resilience, of thank goodness. And it's a very optimistic story where, it ended in such an amazing way, but that doesn't happen for everybody. And so she shares with us how she coped during it, what it was like, her true feelings, and she just gets vulnerable and honest with us, which I love. So this story is, again, it's trigger warning. It's a little scary if somebody has a newer child who might be sick, something like that. It's definitely a little bit hard to hear some of the things that her kiddo had to go through, but again, it's just the story of her resilience, of Samantha's resilience through everything is so encouraging. And I think that you're going to find it very powerful for yourself.
Hey, friend, welcome to the Ready to Rise podcast with your host, me, Audrey Rose. This is the podcast all about taking your life to the next level. Join me on my journey as I create a life that I'm obsessed to wake up for every day. I hope that you are ready to create a life that you really love. Are you ready to rise?
So it's quite a story. So I'm in Utah. I have two girls, they're 10 and 7. And my 7-year-old, everything was fine in pregnancy. I mean, fine. I'm sick when I'm pregnant. So
Oh,
I hate being pregnant. But anyways, the pregnancy was my typical fine.
yeah.
And anyways, it was just interesting. The first 3 weeks of life, she was like a perfect angel, perfect angel. And then that fourth week of life, it's like she turned into a new baby and she was super fussy and spitting up all the time. And so I took her into the doctor and they're like, it's reflux. And I was like, okay. And then it's like the medicine they gave us worked for a little bit, but not for very long. And then same thing happened again. And so at her 2-month visit, I went in just as a usual visit. And I'll never forget the doctor saying, "Does she look yellow to you?" And I was like, I don't know. Like, I'm a young mom. I'm staring at my baby all the time. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know. And she's like, we better do some blood work. And she also threw up like 3 times during the visit.
Whoa.
And it's like by the time she said like we better get some blood work, it's like I already knew like something's wrong. Um so they took the blood work and said, we'll call you back. And I went home and they called back and said, yes, her labs are off, her bilirubin is super high. And so in my head I was thinking, okay, this was a Friday, and so I was thinking like, okay, she'll need to go to the doctor on Monday kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And she said, you need to go to the hospital right now. They're waiting for you. And I'll never forget, she said, unfortunately, usually when I see these circumstances, they're pretty serious. And so we went to the hospital. And at the time, we were living in Spokane, Washington. So all of our family is in Utah. And
Oh,
we're at a different hospital than where she was born at. So we don't even know like where to go. And anyways, it ended up being a 3-week stay. She had her first surgery then. She was diagnosed with biliary atresia, which is a rare liver disease. And it's where the bile doesn't drain, and so it destroys the liver.
oh
And
my
so that's why her first 3 weeks of life, she was fine until it was kind of building up.
Hey.
So, yeah. So then, yeah, during that 3-week stay, she, had her first surgery. And we hoped that like that was going to be the end. Like, okay. And unfortunately, it wasn't. So A couple months later, this was in December, and then in February, they told us that that surgery had failed and that she needed a liver transplant. And so we decided within like 2 weeks, it was like 1 to 2 weeks, it was crazy fast, that me and both my girls would move back home to Utah. My husband would stay in
Yeah.
Washington, finish his last semester of school, and
Wow.
then join us, get her ready for transplant. And so we did that. She had her transplant, and
Gosh.
it's
This,
a lot.
I mean, wow. How was your other daughter doing, like, while this was happening?
Yeah, it was a lot. The good thing for her is that she was young, so she was
Ah,
kind of having the time of her life because she was going to, not as a mom, I
right.
didn't feel like that, but for her, she
Yeah.
was kind of just, going to neighbors' houses, and people were so great to help, and so she just thought it was one big party.
Vacation, yeah. Oh, that's so awesome to have so many people to help.
Yes, yes,
Uh,
absolutely,
and so
absolutely.
then when you moved back home, then everything, she got her transplant there?
Uh-huh. Yeah. So she had her transplant in July. We were in the hospital for 40 days. Luckily, by the time she had her transplant, my husband was back. But living with family, like I love my family, but that is hard.
Yeah, especially with what you're going through.
Yes, it's hard to live with family in stressful times.
Yeah.
And then yeah, then she went on to have two more surgeries after that. Actually,
Oh,
she was tube dependent for over 4 years. Two types of feeding tubes, one in the nose, and then eventually in her belly. But the tube is gone. She's completely
oh my
thriving.
gosh.
And if you didn't know our story, you would never guess what she's been through.
Isn't that nuts? Like I always love like having people on that have like really incredible stories like that. And especially pointing out how like if you saw somebody today, you can't judge a book by the cover, basically. It's
Yeah.
just like you could see, you never know what people are going through. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
and the trauma from that, I'm sure like has changed your life completely, right? Like, I mean, my gosh, I can't even imagine. Uh,
Yeah, it was a lot. I honestly look back and I'm like, how did we do that? Like
yeah.
how did we do
A
that?
quick move, obviously, everything with surgery, like that's insane.
Yeah, it was a lot. It really was survival mode for
Yeah,
years. And I know we all have phases where we're in like survival mode, but to me that just felt like a long time to
yeah,
be in that.
yeah. How
So,
are you coping now that it's like, life has changed so much now and it's so much more of a normal life? How,
yeah.
like, kind of finding yourself de-stressing still, or,
Um, I mostly feel that I just have so much gratitude because there are times where like actually right now she needs blood work, she needs a ultrasound, like, and so there's all this scheduling and sometimes I just feel a little frazzled, but
yeah,
it's like I have to remind myself like, Sam, this is what life was constantly
yeah.
before. And but I really love to help other people that are maybe not on the other side yet, because there were so many people that I just like clung to their stories and followed them. And so I hope to be that mom for other people. And unfortunately, no one's going to have the same story. And unfortunately, some are not a happy ending like ours was. Um, but there were definitely a lot of scary times, and I hope to just bring like hope to other people that are going through big things.
That's amazing. And so, is that something that's like part of your book? You guys, I have something so exciting to share with you. So, I was looking back through my episodes and like what's been downloaded a lot, and it looks like one of the Sunday Scaries episodes that had a quick journaling tool to help you get through the sticky situation has been downloaded so many times. And I'm really excited to announce that I now am offering workbooks. So if you go to my website, they are short, they are sweet, they are simple, and they are not expensive. Just go to helloaudreyrose.com/workbooks, and you can actually get in to check out some of those fun workshops or workbooks, because I know that journaling seems to be a really awesome way to get through a lot of these processes that we are going through. And just having a short, quick way to do that is obviously amazing and easy and simple, and help you get through that real quick. And I also want to say that, I've been talking so much about this October retreat, but I've decided that this is definitely not the only retreat happening, right? Like, we are going to be doing quarterly retreats, maybe even more often in the future, but definitely 4 times a year. And so to stay in the know of all of that and find out the fun locations that they go and that they end up at, you can text retreat to 707-347-0723. Or I don't
Yeah.
know a lot about your book yet, but I would love to hear. Yeah.
Yeah, so my book was kind of one of those, like someday I'll write a book. That sounds
Yeah.
cool. That sounds fun. Sure. And the reason for that is just my daughter that went through so much, she doesn't remember anything. I always joke now that I should have like slept in my own bed and not stayed at the hospital so much. She doesn't remember it. I'm
Oh,
kidding.
that's cute. Yeah.
But she doesn't remember anything. And my older daughter, she really doesn't either. And so
Oh,
I really felt like I wanted them to know like what they went through, like what they've been through, and they don't remember it. So it kind of started as like, well, maybe I'll write like a big journal. And then as I thought about it more, I thought there's so many lessons that our family learned during during our journey that I just thought like other people can learn from these lessons too. And if you're on a liver disease journey, you're going to understand the terminology in that. But even if you're not, we all go through hard things. Life doesn't go as we planned. And so the book is full of just lessons that our family learned, that my hope was that someone could read Kendall's story and learn her story, but also be able to take things away to apply to their own life. So,
yeah. Those are the stories that always, like, when it's life or death like that, like, people learn so much.
yes.
And for some people, they can learn that lesson through you. And thank God that they do not have to go through something so scary. I mean,
Yeah.
I just can't even express like how I'm feeling like that. I just can't believe that story. It's so incredible. It's so hard. I can't imagine.
Yeah. It
But
was
look
like,
at her now. I just saw your pictures like of her dancing, and like, I mean, my
yeah.
goodness. Like you said, you
Yeah.
never know.
You really don't. And that was a big lesson to me too, of that you just never know what people are going through. They might smile, they might act happy, they might act like they've got it all together, and you just don't know what they're going through. Because there were honestly a lot of times where she was really sick, but you wouldn't know it. Like there were times, like even with her first surgery, I knew that her belly was never going to look the same. I knew that she was going to have like these scars, and to me she looked a little yellow, but she wasn't like screaming yellow. It wasn't. And so I just thought like it always reminds me that you never know what people are going through.
I want to ask you, this is kind of a tough question we didn't prepare for, but I would love to hear from you. Like, for people that are like randomly coming up to you that kind of knew your story back then when you were in the thick of it, what are some things that they could have done or maybe asked rather than just saying, like, are you okay? Are you okay?
Um,
What can I do for you? Is there something
yeah.
that you would? give like the audience for, their friends or their family that are going through something similar?
Yeah, I share this story in the book. I think it's so important, and I need to do better at this myself. But instead of just asking like, how can you help? How can I help? When you are in the thick of that, you don't know. Like you don't even know how to tell someone they can help. But there was this sweet old lady in my neighborhood that I met at church, and I really didn't know her at all. And when she heard what was going on, she came up to me and said, I used to work in the NICU
Oh,
for
wow.
20 years or something. I don't know. And I'm just like, okay, cool. And she said, how can I help you? And I said, I'm fine. That's usually what I say. I would much rather help someone else than have someone help me. And she said, no, like, I'm gonna help you.
Yeah.
She would come to my house and she would say, okay, I got the girls, go. And I
Wow.
remember just laughing and being like, where am I supposed to go?
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't know, but you go. And so sometimes most of the time I would just like run errands.
Yeah.
And I would come home and my baby, she would just be rocking my baby. And the other one was happy. And she was just such an angel during that time. And I learned a lot from her of just not like, how can I help, but like showing up. If you
Yeah.
just show up, people will put you to work.
Good. Yeah. Yeah, that's
Um,
the thing. It's like people who want to help truly want to help.
they do. They
Mhm.
do. People do want to help. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you've been through so much. So, yeah. What about like food or stuff like that? Do you think that that ever helps people as well?
Yeah, yeah, I think absolutely. I think like having like stuff in a freezer is great. You just never know when they'll need it. I think stuff like that is just great because you just don't know, especially if someone's like living in and out of the hospital. You can take them a fresh dinner, but like they might not be there. And with our journey, it literally we really didn't know. Like we could wake up in the morning and my daughter could be fine, and then within a couple hours we're heading to the hospital and we don't know how long we're going to be there.
Oh
And
my
so it was just kind of impossible to plan anything to. So I
God.
think I think meals are great. I think like gift cards are great. Um when we were in the hospital, one of those very first nights when we first got the diagnosis, a friend came to visit us, and when he left, he gave my husband $50. And we're like, we're okay. And he said, life gets expensive in emergencies.
Yes. That's
And
so
I
sweet.
thought that's such a good quote
Yeah.
that it really does.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine like again, I keep saying that, but I just truly can't imagine going through that. And, we had like a small emergency with my sister growing up, but it wasn't to that extent at all. But even that was just a couple months, but it adds up. Everything adds up and the stress adds up and it's just so much. And you don't want to leave. You don't want to, you want to be there, obviously, especially when it's your own kid. Like, you have to be there for them and advocating for them and, understanding what's going on with your child. So,
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's a lot. What are you doing for yourself now to like pour back into yourself, and pour back into your self-care and all of that?
Yeah. So before all this, I was really big into running. I've done 7 half marathons in my life, which is weird
Oh,
to say because now you're gonna think I'm a runner and I'm not. I'm not. I kind of thought I would do that forever. And then her care was just around the clock. It was around the clock. And I think going from one kid to two is already hard.
Yep.
Anyways, I mean, I could name all the excuses,
Yeah.
but you get it. And so but I remember, when life was so crazy, like that was the first thing that went, like working out. Like that was just out the door. And then I remember just realizing like this isn't a short term thing. Like
Mhm.
she's going to need me and she's going to need a lot of me for a long time. And it was kind of an eye opener to just take care of myself and to, I love working out, but to really like put in that time to allow myself to do that and to realize that when I was taking care of me, that was taking care of my kids.
Yeah.
I think it's so easy to just be like, well, it's all them. And I just, it was like a mindset shift of taking care of me is helping them.
Mhm.
Um, and so I think just learning that, I think allowing yourself to rest, like when everything was so crazy, it's just a lot, like physically, mentally, and emotionally. And I still find actually that even all these years later, if she needs something, just I mean, and it's tiny compared to what it was, I still just feel like extra tired and a little more stressed and just allowing yourself to rest. Like the dishes can wait, the house can wait, like it's okay to rest, especially when you're dealing with all that. And it's okay to feel tired. I remember so often being like, why am I tired? Like, I've gotten enough sleep or whatever, but it's a lot, and allowing yourself to realize that, because I just think we can't really see what stress does to our bodies.
Yeah, definitely. Getting that rest, getting that good nutrition, just anything that you can do for yourself to deal with that stress so that it doesn't build up. Yeah. Because like you said, you realized it was going to be a long game. And so you have to show up for it. You have to be strong for it.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. And you speak about pouring into like other just other people that are going through this. And so of course with your book, but are there other things that, people can find you, other places or
Yeah, yeah. So I do have a Live Real Mama community that I'm building, and this kind of started out for liver mamas, and obviously it is still open to liver mamas, and liver mamas will always just have a special place in my heart. But what I realized is that sometimes we don't want to just like focus on the liver disease, and that there's so many moms that are going through things that aren't related to that. And so I truly feel that I learned lessons during those hard times that I would have never learned another way. And so if I can help other moms, whether they're on a completely different journey or, the same, I really want to help them, because motherhood is hard alone, but then you have a big thing on top of that. And it's a lot, and it's okay to feel like it's a lot. And I love that you brought up your sister, and I don't know what she's gone through, but I find so often with women, they're like, oh, well, like mine's not as big. And I'm like,
yeah.
oh, like you can feel those feelings. You can feel all that. Like, I think we're so quick to compare, like, oh, well, you've been through way worse. And it's like, no, I don't know your story. I don't know. So I think just encouraging women to really like, it's okay to feel their own story and to feel it's hard. And I do the same thing. Like I personally know moms that have lost their kiddos to the same disease that I didn't lose mine to. And so I'll always have that of,
Yeah.
but anyways, I just think it's important that we all acknowledge like what we've been through and not be so quick to be like,
Oh,
but it's, it's human nature.
like what you said a minute ago, about like giving help faster than you receive help. It's almost like that, where it's just like we're so easy to give that, oh my gosh, you have it so hard. But rather than receiving the support. And
Yeah.
do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. Where can everybody find you? Is Instagram the best?
I feel like I'm all over.
Yeah.
So you can find me on Instagram, on Facebook. I also have a website as well. So it's just my name, samanthamulaney.com. And if you scroll to the bottom there, you can fill out a little form to get into the Liberal Mamas community. And yeah, but I'm around. I've got a little bit on YouTube. I should do more there. But anyways.
I know it's hard to do everything. It really is, but
It is. It is.
Aw. And then it might be something that you've already said, but if you could just leave everybody with a self-love or a self-care tip.
Yeah, just take care of yourself, you guys, and take care of yourself in every way. Like I feel like everyone has their strengths and their weaknesses, and there's some different places that we're better at taking care of ourselves, but take care of yourself physically and mentally and emotionally and spiritually, just in all the ways. And I believe that as you do that, you help not only help yourself, but help everyone around you. Like you can't help other people when you're sick. You can't help, it's really hard to be a mom when you're sick. So just take care of yourself, and just remember that you taking care of yourself is really taking care of those that are around you as well. So
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
of course, thank you.
I appreciate it so much. I just, like, you've been through a lot. And so I could see how easy it could be to just like shy away from sharing everything and wanting to just heal with your family. But truly, like, that's a big thing that you're doing, to share it with other people and help them get through their situations. Like,
Yeah, I just feel like, I mean, there's got to be a reason we went through everything. And if there's anything I can do to just, help someone, even just a little bit, because it was a lot, and there were so many tears and worry and fear and all the things. And if I could have seen my life back then, I just would have laughed. Like, no, that's not, I could have never dreamed how life could be today.
I'm so happy you got to make it to another amazing episode of the Ready to Rise podcast. Don't hesitate to share this with a friend that needs to hear it. Send it straight to their DMs. Take a screenshot, throw it up in your stories, tag me in it at Hello Audrey Rose. And don't forget, if you leave a written review on the iTunes app, that also helps people find it. So if it resonates with you, help others find it. And I can't wait to hear how much you loved this awesome episode. Have a blessed day.